Today I want to break down some of my principles that guide exercise selection and what I'm looking for when I'm trying to address a specific case. And I think that this should be really helpful for understanding why we pick some of the exercises we do and what you might need for your own individual situation or for a client. The exercises that I use and promote on my channel and within my content are much different and have a much different goal than traditional corrective exercises, where usually the goal is to push yourself into some position, stretch yourself into some position, get yourself to really feel something strongly, and then hopefully that creates an adaptation that is beneficial or opens up more range of motion. And sometimes this can work, but a lot of the times these things don't tend to stick because we're not necessarily respecting the neurological component of how exercises can influence us and our range of motion and our movement options. Let me show you an example. Look at this exercise and think about what you see. From my perspective, I see someone that is essentially pushing from right to left. They're in a right hip extended position, a later stance position, if you will, where they're pushing out of their right hip and shifting and turning towards the left side. This is akin to right late stance and left early stance within the gait cycle. If this person sat here and breathed in it for about a minute, I would expect them to see an improvement in their left hip internal rotation measurement and their right hip external rotation measurement. Yes, I'm dead serious. I would expect there to be a change if that person was ready for this activity. If that's confusing or you don't get it, don't worry, I'm gonna break it down in this video and show you how this can have a lot of value for you. Let me give you an example person and presentation so that way we sort of have an understanding of what we're looking at and how certain types of exercise selection could be helpful. Now, usually because we have natural asymmetry within our body, most people have a position where they're shifted over to the right side. If you want more information on that natural asymmetrical pattern, I'm going to link it up above and also down below in the description. Now, because of this, most people present with better left hip external rotation based measurements and better right hip internal rotation based measurements. Now, if we were to just simply look at this person, we would say, okay, you need to learn how to push out of your right side and accept that weight and load within your left side. You need to learn how to shift from right to left because you're constantly stuck in a position or biased towards a position where you're shifted from left to right. So to put it simply, we need to teach this person how to get right later stance mechanics and better left earlier stance mechanics. If you want to look at it further down the chain, you can think about it like this. We're pushing out of our left side, so that is more of a late stance position where we are more on the ball and forefoot of this left side, and the right side, because we are turning into that side, we're going to have more of an earlier stance position on the right side where we're sensing our heel more. Now, if you were to look at people's feet and how they stand normally, usually what you would see is that they're better able to sense their right heel more than their left. It is very common to see that. You can try this on yourself and stand up and see which heel you can lean more easily on and sense more. Usually it's the right side for this reason. So what we need to teach these people to do is the inverse. We need to get them to sense how to push out of their right side and get the pelvis to push from right to left and get in an earlier stance position on the left side. So we need to have them sense their right foot arch and forefoot and their left heel. If we can sense those foot contacts, then we can educate the body how to push more effectively from right to left and incorporate the entire lower kinetic chain as we do that. Obviously, I'm not going to have this person start in a position where they're upright and unsupported. That would be irresponsible because people need a safe, easy to manage position initially in order for them to get into an unfamiliar position biomechanically. So what we would do is get them on the floor first, and we would teach them this in a position where it's easy for them to find and feel the right things. An example of this would be a position like this, where I would be cueing them to feel their left heel and their right foot arch and put them in a position where it's easy for them to push their pelvis on the right ahead of their left. That would allow them to get in more of a right hip external rotation, later stance position, and a left hip internal rotation or earlier stance position. Now from there, we want to progress them, and we want to get them more upright and unsupported over time. Now they may need a couple of exercises to help them in that transition from sideline to completely upright and unsupported, but I will link some of those exercises, some examples, in the article I'm writing alongside this video, which I'll be linking down below in the description. It'll have more information and also other exercises for you to see. So now if we go back to the first exercise we saw, we can start to make more sense of what we're seeing. So you can see now how this is more of that right late stance, left earlier stance position. The reason why we're elevating that left foot on a book is because it offloads weight from the left forefoot more onto the left rear foot and heel. It's going to make it easier for that person to sense their heel because they're not going to be able to lean on their forefoot as much. It's going to naturally offload weight there. And that's going to help them sense that left heel. Now, I need to make sure they're still feeling that right foot arch and reaching with the right arm, because that's what happens when we start to push over to the left side. And all they're going to do is sit there and become aware of those references of the left heel and the right foot arch. And they're just going to breathe in that position. If we can breathe controlled and properly through that position, as I describe in the exercise, then we can provide more parasympathetic input into the nervous system to show that, hey, this is a safe position for me to be in. This is a position that you can access easily, and I'm showing you how you can do that. And we're representing the mechanics in our pelvis and our trunk of how we shift from right to left. Now let's say this person needed to learn how to stay shifted in their left side, because we can get into the left side, sure, but we need to learn how to stay in this left hip as we transition from left to right, from mid stance on the left side to late stance on the left side. We don't want to just get here and then fall off our left side, right? We need to learn how to stay back on this side. So what we can do is we can get in a position that represents that phase of gait, and we can just breathe there, focusing on the foot contacts and also the breathing and the correct upper body position too. If you want more information and more exercise examples, check out the article down below that I'm going to link there. And if you really want to learn more, you can check out my beginner biomechanics course and also my main biomechanics course. Both are great ways to start to get into this type of corrective exercise intervention and start to get some results that last over time.